What do you want to do next?
Um,
Should we do naive? Should we do Demantis?
ooh.
So we got two from Demantis here. And they're remarkably similar packaging. They're basically the Madagascar and the Peru. And the only way you can tell them apart is by actually looking at the top. So they're basically both for us. And thank you, Demantis, for making these bars for us. So it depends whether you've got the milk or the dark box, which one you're going to get. Which one do you want to start with? Should we do the Madagascar first?
Yes, sure.
So the Madagascar. So this is a very, very, very different Madagascar. This is, we always sort of say that when you get Madagascar, you know that it's Madagascar straight out the box. Well, when I smell this, I get nothing at all Madagascar. This is not citrusy. This is actually much more bubblegummy. If I were to guess where this one came from, I would basically be sort of saying somewhere like the northern bits of Pura or the southern bits of Ecuador.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's just not. It's like we've already tried one Madagascar, and it's nowhere near as citrusy as that one.
Got a great melt, lovely,
Yeah,
lovely melt.
Naive's good on its melt
Yeah,
though.
it's. I mean, when we spoke to Demantis about this, I sort of asked him. I said, "What is this?" And we sort of looked into it. It's a very small. It's a very small sort of farm that he uses. Who also do a lot of other organic products, but it's completely different. So anything you're going to get from Menacao, from MIA, anything which Ackerson's going to be using. Much, much more. If you like the sort of Peruvian bubble nuts, it's very, very much that. But another great, beautiful bar.
But I feel like that though kind of goes to show how, we're in the habit of kind of defining things by their regions, but how that just goes to show how important the individual farm is.
Yeah.
In understanding flavor profiles and everything else. I think it's even we get in the habit of kind of going, oh, this is what a Madagascar bar should taste like, but maybe we should be thinking a little bit more locally than that.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. You need to go down to the farm level, and it really does just show what a difference it makes. So I think it's but Demantis always gets these fantastic melts, whether you're basically trying his porcini or his kefir. Well, and he's sort of very interesting because even with his stone ground bars, the Ecuadorian one we did last year, again it has this beautiful melt. So I think we should now move on to the to the. I always pronounce this wrong. Ashuyaku, Peruvian bar.
Sorry, can you say that again? Just one more time. Can you say it again, please?
Ashuyaku.
Lovely.
Lovely. I'm trying. I'm really trying. I need Demantis to be basically as well. So anyway. So again, beautiful bar. I mean, I think Demantis just does do, and also the shape of it. I mean, let me open this. So actually,
I already broke mine. There was some weights sitting on top of my box. I left it. I was being very good because it arrived a few days ago, but I was waiting to open it with you.
Yeah,
but it did mean that it got crushed by some weights.
Okay, so mine's a little bit more broken, but anyway, this is sort of what it looks like. They are.
Oh, look, you can see. I mean, I don't know if you can see that. The camera resolution's probably not great, but you can just see the bicycle.
Yeah, you can definitely see that. So that's what they look like. Sort of beautiful shape. Cool. Very, very distinctive. We must actually ask Demantis why he's got a picture of a sort of bicyclist on the
bicycle.
Front. Yeah, and he's also well known. He always wears a bow tie whenever you see him at the show. And absolutely fantastic bloke. Incredibly responsive. Incredibly wonderful. And just basically turns out bars which are just completely different to everybody else, which are beautifully crafted. Right. So Peru, dark milk.
Again, it has like a slightly this has a slightly more like kefir. Maybe I'm just thinking of your kefir taste, like smell to it.
Mm-hmm. It has that.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of. I mean, I don't want to say bubblegum because it's sort of that sounds chemically.
It's definitely not bubblegummy. Oh no, actually, I do kind of see what you mean.
It like fruit.
Yeah, juicy, like tutti fruity kind of amalgamation of fruits, but in a good way. It's like not an overpowering sweetness.
Yeah, no, but it's a really, I mean, it's not sweet at all. This one, it's got a beautiful melt. Actually, the other great thing about this one is that not only is the name difficult to sort of say.
Wait, recording. Okay.
Okay, so when you describe the flavors, I'm going to tell a little about the story behind this bar because it's a great example of Peruvian cacao.
I don't think that works. I can't describe the flavors and you talk at the same time. That's not going to work.
All right. Okay. You describe the flavor.
Me describe the flavor, or do you want to tell the story first?
I'll tell the story.
Okay.
So this is so one of the great puzzles of Peruvian cacao. There are two great puzzles to Peruvian cacao. One puzzle is why, if the cocoa tree starts in Peruvian Ecuadorian jungle, do we have lots of evidence of it in Ecuador being consumed as a drink when you go back 4,000 or 5,000 BC, but not very much of it in Peru at all until a lot later. And it may just be they haven't found the digs, but I think it's actually a bit more subtle than that. I think the second reason is that why are there so many different varieties of Peruvian cacao? Because Ecuadorian cacao is fantastic, but it's basically, we know it best for Arriba Nacional, which is this sort of very green, that's very earthy, actually very similar to this chocolate here. But inside Peruvian cacao, you've got all sorts of things. You've got Pura, Gran Blanco, as being one. Then you've got sort of all the different varieties that you get down Chincho, and then you've got all the different varieties that you get, in all sorts of different regions, whereas in Ecuador it just tends to be one. And I think the two are actually linked, and I think the reason why they're linked is that in Peru, the mountains meant that they basically spent a lot more time with another substance, which sounds a bit like cocoa, but it isn't cocoa. It's the coca leaf, which they would basically suck to give them energy, to basically get rid of pain. They're not using it as a sort of narcotic or as a drug or as a sort of, anything like that. But they are very much using it as a drink and as a stimulant and something to keep them going. It's not like a recreational drug or anything like that. But I think that basically meant that for a long time they left cocoa, and therefore they've got a lot more variants of it around the place. But any which way, the great thing about this is that it shows the other side of cocaine and coca and chocolate, which is that since the 1980s, 1990s, everybody from USAID through to the UN and local people too have basically been trying to encourage people to grow cocoa rather than the coca leaf and cocaine. And this basically comes from the Huayambaba River at the edge of the Amazon, where the UN have basically been funding people to be growing this cacao and learning how to ferment it better, because they don't want them growing cocaine anymore. So as you have this, it's really, not only does it taste great, but it does lots of good too. So let's have another go at enjoying this chocolate. But it does have that sort of green, tangy, floral, tangy, sort of slightly.
Yeah, the green, it is quite grassy.
It's definitely sort of banana-y in a very, very nice way. And it's only from a textural standpoint. Yeah, I forgot you don't like bananas, but I love bananas. But anyway, texturally, there's no doubt that this is very, very, very much a dark milk, and it's very, very Moorish.
But it's so rich and layered.
Yeah, you couldn't eat very much of this. This is, you really want to savor this.
Yeah.
So well done to Mantis.
This is lovely.
Again, another great bar, and again,
I actually really like the way that those vegetable notes are developing, because they're not overpowering. Like, I think, this, like, I sometimes struggle with certain Ecuadorian bars where I'm just like, oh, it's too vegetable, it's too grassy. But this one, you kind of, because you start out with like that quite bright, fruity, floral, whatever, notes, and then it develops into a slightly greener hue.
I think also as you go through the journey, I think that the balance and its length is really good. I mean, you start by really enjoying it, and then it sort of grains to be more subtle, and you sort of get all the textural notes coming through, and it is beautifully balanced. Really, really good.